family, and welcome. This is Kimberly Purpoz, and welcome to my channel. Um, Before we start, I wanted to share with you about my website. My business is Purpose Counseling and Wellness Center. Therapy. Feel like you are falling apart? Let us help you find the missing pieces in your life. Purpose Counseling and Wellness Center, PCWC, provides a variety of therapeutic counseling services geared towards helping individuals, families, and the communities. Our goal is to assist individuals holistically through our transpersonal counseling and psychological services. Come and don't forget, this is pretty much about the therapy. We give affordable discounts and rates for people. We're willing to work with you. And don't forget to visit my website. This is the PCW website. But I just wanted to share that with you all so you all know. I'm also on Psychology Today as well. Now, we're going to go today and talk about the Indians again. I saw this interesting article. Let me see. This is about the Creek Indians, but I wanted to share this journal with you all. Hopefully y'all see what I'm seeing. Let me go back over here. There we go. I found this interesting journal about the Indian removal that took place, a Scholarly Journal article. And I wanted to go over it with you all because it shows proof in support of documentation. I'm going to give you all the reference to this particular article. It's from the Journal of Southern History, and the title of the article is The Legacy of Indian Removal by Theda Purdue. So, either Theda or Theta Purdue. So, I believe this was published on February 2012. This is an interesting read. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's 36 pages, and I found it to be quite interesting. But let's begin. It says here, I'm going to only read through and skim through the first 3 pages for you all. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to touch on it. It says here, removal is where most historical accounts of Southern Indians ended, but is where the story begins. Intending to rid the South of Indian nations with communal land and sovereign power, the removal power of the 1830s fell short. Not only did individual Indians remain, but Native communities also struggled over the next century and a half to carve out a place for themselves in the South. For much of the time, the U.S. officials schemed to transport remnants of removed nations of Indian territory in a variety of scenarios. Both state and individuals sought to dispose of the Indians and dislocate their communities. And so this pretty much happened after the wars, because like I said, when they first came here into the Americas, there have been several battles, a lot of battles with the Indians against the Greys. And so this article is just pretty much starting off where, after these wars were won by the Greys and what they did with the Indians and how it pretty much explains what really happened to them. But I'm going to scroll down and continue. It says here, the ongoing effort to expel Indians from the South or obliterate their status as Indians met with little or high publicized opposition that the removal of the 1830s provoked. Instead, white Southerners used the expulsion of Indians in the Jacksonian era to obscure the continual presence of the Native people in the South, to fuse their own lost cause to that of the Indians, and to fortify Jim Crow against the challenges that diversity among non-whites present. As for Indians, poverty, isolation, disenfranchisement, intimidation, and racism compounded their terror and threatened to render them powerless. But in the struggle that coincided with the civil rights movement, some Southern Indians forced a reckoning. As historians, we incorporate the Indians into narratives of colonization, slavery, and the expansion of the Cotton Kingdom. But after the Jacksonian period, the puzzle period, repulsor over what to do about the scattered, historically disconnected Indians community. One way of linking these communities to each other and the broader history of the South is to, let's go to the next page, recognize that removal served to solidify a biracial South and reinforce white power along with the Trail of Tears ended. Furthermore, Native resist to disposition and segregated helped loosen the whole Jim Crow in the region. So this pretty much explained what happened because, like I said, the author is correct about how it's sort of like a when you go through the history books and some of these stories, it's sort of it is definitely scattered. Right here, it's all over the place. They were not very specific or clear. And that was by design because they don't want the truth to be told as to what happened to the indigenous people here. But it's just strange. It's not strange. Jim Crow sort of took over during the time period where they was removing the Indians. And so that's sort of key right there for us to understand that it's the African Americans who are the Indians. Okay? But I'm going to go into more detail to explain that. That's my theory. That's what the Jim Crow was pretty much about, is stripping the indigenous people, the aka African Americans and American Aborigines, of their identity of being an Aboriginal Indian. So we're going to go over here to Jim Crow. I saw this wonderful article here in Atlanta Black Star, and it says here, this article, Jim Crow, The History of Racial Cleansing, by Charmaine Nelson, and this was published on July 11th, 2015. And I'm not going to read this whole article. I'm going to put a link to this article because I think this is a great article. Wonderful article. I've seen it before. I think several YouTubers used this article before. But I wanted to pull this up because it sort of mentions the dates and stuff, with the wars and stuff and the transitioning. And you remember Dawes' role happened towards the late 1916 and in the 1800s, late 1800s is when they had Dawes' role to come out, and that's how they transitioned the blacks from who were free from the from being able to claim Indian. And then Jim Crow, according to this article, started around the 1896. Let's read this. It says, this is part one of the three-part story of everyday experiences of racial violence, loss of land, rape, and trauma that African Americans, American Aborigines endured during Jim Crow era of 1896, 1960s. And then it says the second part of the story focused on the violence and rapes of African American women and children during Jim Crow and the long-term collective psychological consequences, segregation stress syndrome. And then also the third part of the story is to focus on the historical rights of Ruby McCollum. You will hear Ruby McCollum share her story of rape, murder, and the trial that put her in a mental institution for 20 years. This is sad. But this is the first part of the series of that particular article. It's in Atlanta Black Star. Y'all can check it out. But I just wanted to show you the dates right here. If y'all can see it, 1896 through 1960s with Jim Crow. And when you go back over here, let's go back to this article in the journal. I like showing dates and time periods. is 1980s, 1830s is when they started oppressing the Black Indians and start removing them. And then also Dawes Commission towards the end also was a way, a tactic that they used. But let's go on to page 2, you guys. I'm going to continue. It says here, most Southern historians was aware that the United States government removed the so-called 5 civilized tribes, a term Indian historians no longer use. And some scholars know that the remnants of the 4 tribes remain in the South. And yes, and they're still here. But what they did was they took the original Indians out and let the $5 Indians, which are the Grays, to be allowed to be on Dawes Commission. It was a racist tactic to exploit the Indians even further of their roots. And it says here the Aboriginal Indians. And it says here a private reservation granted under 1814 treaty that ended the Creek War provided land in Alabama on the community code. On one that the United States recognized 1984 Parch Band of the Creeks. And so it says here that's in the 1814s when they signed that treaty to end the wars with the Creek Indians, which is pretty much in Georgia and Alabama. And then it says here the Cherokees in North Carolina also, and like it was back to back with all the Indians from 1819 treaty and subsequent lived outside of the Cherokee Nation, formed the nucleus of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians recognized by Congress in 1868. And it's also around the time when they started releasing the slaves during that time period as well. But I wanted to stroll down. We're going to skip this paragraph. I was trying to find a paragraph where I think this is it right here at the bottom. I wanted to show this. This is primary evidence right here, according to the Scholar Journal article, that the American Aboriginals were Black, was the aka African Americans, where the Creek Indians were American Aborigines primarily. Most of the tribes all the tribes pretty much, the $5, according to my research, the five civilized tribes were the Black tribes, were the American Aborigines, pretty much. And that was what it was all about. And it says here, I'm going to go to this paragraph. It says the absence of formal government, commonly held lands, and federal relations made these remnants vulnerable to exploitation by Grays. Recognizing the dangers, Jim Boy, a Creek headman, returned to Alabama in 1848 to rescue Creeks left behind in his tribes. Chaotic removal, he saved 65 countrymen, but he failed to secure the freedom of at least 100 others, whom Gray Alabamians held in slavery. Here it is. So y'all got to keep in mind, this is the key right here. Slavery. The natives, all they did with the Aboriginals here in the Americas, especially on the southeastern region, the southeastern woodlands, was put them into slavery. They captured the indigenous people and put them in slavery. They didn't bring anybody over for Africa. Most of the people, we were already here. And in this particular scholarly journal article states it as a fact that they captured these people and they were put into slavery. And that's exactly what took place, And it says, with little tolerance for racial abnormalities, these planters had converted previous free Indians into slaves and driven home the message that leading Southerners aspired to create a region populated only by free whites and enslaved people of color. And so the enslaved people of color, which is us, which are the American Aborigines, and also known as the African Americans, we're the ones they're talking about in this scholarly journal article. So I'm going to put a reference to this particular journal so you all can see for yourself. It has very valuable information that supports the theories that the American Aboriginals were already here. We were not brought over on no slave boats, and that the Greys pretty much kidnapped the indigenous people and put them in slavery. And the whole point of Doll's role, I'm gonna go to my page again so y'all could check it out. And I take y'all to my blog all the time. Let's see if I can get y'all over there. Well, I don't know if I can. Okay, here we go. Here's my blog, you guys. Check this out. I'm getting ready to update it some more. I need to put up some more information for you all. I got plenty more that I want to add, but I was looking right here. I wanted to share again this book. Y'all need to get it. About Dawes Commission is in this book right here. It tells you the year 1893 through 1914. That was when they doing that big transition after the wars of taking the indigenous black people off the list as being Indian and putting the Greys in there. And the mixed ones, that are not even fully black. All the full bloods were taken off, and all the half breeds, the mixed people were left on, and along with the ones that are married to the Greys. And that's why y'all see these fair skinned, or I wouldn't even say fair, pale skinned, pale complexion Indians in these tribes, because they're not the original. And most of them are more Caucasian than original, and they really should not be on that land, because they're not the original people, and they didn't suffer Jim Crow like everybody else did. And yeah, but Jim Crow, you guys, I did some videos on. I did a video about that, how Jim Crow is pretty much the time. Jim Crow is about stolen legacy, pretty much. That's what it's about. And that's pretty much what it's all about. I think the freedmen's are the free Aboriginals that was still on the was still part of the reservation. They try to say that they were slaves, but actually, according to some of my research, a lot of these people that they consider the freedmen to be were related to the natives, the half-breeds, the ones, the lighter skinned ones. They're all family, and it just due to colorism and racism that according to the system, that gray is considered all, the top, and the darker you are, the more you are placed at the bottom. And so, and since if you're not pale, you were put at the bottom. If you're dark, you were put at the bottom. But if you're pale, you're put at the top. And that's what pretty much how this tribe worked. They didn't want any of the originals to be on there. That's why they excluded them. But I found this article, which is pretty interesting, which sort of touches on what took place about the freedmen's. The thing is, I see the freedmen's are starting to go back and try to sue against these tribes to get back into them. But I see, but it still doesn't help the people who were descendants of slaves, and the Aboriginals that were enslaved also deserve to get that reparation. And I think identifying ourselves as being indigenous is key to getting the reparations in the first place. And I think the problem is we're still labeling ourselves as being African. And when you label yourself as being African, a foreigner, it makes it harder for you to get the resources that you need, that you deserve, because you're still considering yourself as being a foreigner when you were actually the original American here on this land. But this article is pretty much called "The Black Creek Indian Sues Muscogee Creek Nation Citizenship." And this was published on July 26, 2018. And it says here, the Black Creeks are demanding their Muscogee Creek Nation civilization restored in a federal lawsuit. And then it says here at the bottom, the federal lawsuit asks the U.S. Department of the Interior to be barred from granting benefits to the tribe until the Freedmens are granted citizenships. Cherokee and Seminole Freedmens have won citizenships in the tribes through similar actions. Y'all want to read this article? I'm not sure. I think I might have done this video, mentioned this article before in the previous video about Creek Nation, but I just wanted to touch on the introduction part. So it's like people are starting, to be more proactive at getting things done, to making things right about the injustices in this land. And I think that's great. And I think the key is to start, I showed you all that article, is to start learning who you are, tying yourself and connecting yourself. I won't say tying, but connecting yourself to your indigenous roots is key. And then once you know, you start taking action and doing things to make it right. And I think my calling is to do these videos, to create media, to help educate people about it. I'm taking action. I know somebody mentioned to me that it's good to talk about it, but you need to take actions. And you're right. Everybody needs to take action. It's going to take more than just one person. Is going to have to take a whole collective, a whole tribe, all of us to work on this to get it right. Everybody had their own gifts and doing things and trying to make things right. And the key is to find what you're good at and what your purpose is, and to go out there and make things happen. And I'm sorry, y'all, if I sound a little tired. I'm a little exhausted. Not feeling well. I had minor surgery the other day, but I'm fine. But I just wanted to make sure I get on here and share this with you all. And I put a link to all this, and I would love to hear what you all think. What do you think about the Creek Indians, and what do you think about the five civilized tribe? Do you believe that Jim Crow is a part of stolen legacy? It's pretty much based on that. And also share what tribe your family is for. I love listening to your story. But I'm finna go to bed, you guys. I'm tired. But I just wanted to share this with you all. Until next time, love and peace, family. Oh, and don't forget, make sure you click the subscription button so you can, that notification bell, so you can get my updates and feedback and see when I'm releasing another video. Until next time, love and peace. Bye-bye.